Hi, I'm Kyle Jensen. I'm the Shana and Eric Bass Director of Entrepreneurial Programs here at the Yale School of Management. I am joined today by Emmett Shear and Justin Kahn, founders of Twitch and various other startups, and also Yale alums. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, it was my pleasure to have you here. And so, what year did you graduate?
I was Brantford 05.
Davenport 05.
Recent grads.
Recent? Is that recent? I don't know. You're on the cusp of not recent. Right?
We're hitting our 10th year next year, so not that recent.
Okay, well, I hope you come back for the reunion. So let me ask you today. I would like to ask you about what Yale should be teaching in the area of entrepreneurship. What we should be teaching, to whom and how. What are your thoughts about what Yale needs to generate more entrepreneurs?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is figuring out how to normalize entrepreneurship at Yale. You know, if you look at other colleges that have success, you know, like Stanford, they have Google as the, you know, Larry Page and Sergey.
We have
like
Twitch.
You know, yes. So like I think having an example gets people interested in starting startups while they're in undergrad, and so you know, getting people who have been successful in the technology community at Yale to come back and you know, talk, or you know, figuring out ways to make it visible is a big part of like making people understand that they can start a startup, which was something that, you know, we kind of stumbled into, I would say, when we were undergrads. We wanted to start a startup. We didn't really have any examples of people who were successful, but we kind of, you know, built a prototype, and then eventually we got into Y Combinator, which helped us, I think, really normalize that this is something that a lot of people could do, because we were concurrently going through the process.
Now there's an increasing body of Yale alums who have been very successful in the tech world.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's a whole list of them. I mean, you've got the like Matt Sanchez, Video Egg. You've got Jonathan Swanson, Thumbtack.
Ben Silberman from Pinterest. There's lots of different Yaleys who have been very successful in tech.
Excellent. So what kinds of classes do you think we should have in this area?
So the most important class that you have to have is the set of classes that get you those table stakes skills that are required to actually build the product. Like, you must have those, and if people aren't doing that, you can take all the entrepreneurialism
tech product, it would be
web programming.
Okay.
Right? Like, you can take all the
as part of the curriculum.
Yeah. It's like really, really important because, and it doesn't have to be like a normal course. It could be a it can be a summer program. It can be a sort of like more like a lab course that like corresponds to, you have like a theory course, and you have like a lab course corresponding with it. But the main thing is, like, you need to actually spend a lot of hours on it, because you can get from no idea what you're doing to competent programmer in about 10 weeks with a well, competent's going a bit far. Like serviceable junior programmer in about 10 weeks.
Sure.
If you're programming about 10 hours a day.
Okay.
For 10 weeks. And so that's very achievable. There's like programs and like Dev Bootcamp that help people achieve this. I know we've hired people who've gone through that program, and it's like they're not bad, actually. So it's very much possible to fit it into that 4-year curriculum. I'm sure you can find the time for it. And then after that, you know, on the entrepreneurialism side, the big thing is really helping people learn sort of the process of, okay, you have this idea for a product. It's come from somewhere. You've gotten it from something. How do you identify people to go talk to, and then go talk to them, and like, what's that, you know, how do you get that feedback cycle going of what, you know, I have this idea, get the feedback, actually critically build something, and then go validate whether or not you did that whole cycle right and repeat it a bunch of times. But it has to be, doing it for play doesn't seem to work. For pretend, it has to really be part of, I'm actually like earnestly trying to turn this into a company. And if you're not, if it's not, it just doesn't tend to. I don't know. It doesn't seem like
you want to select the people who are like doing it not for a grade, but they're doing it because they're legitimately interested in creating a company. I don't know how you differentiate between those people.
Yeah,
could be some combination of the two too. Right. So, for example, a practicum where they work on their venture for credit, or like that. I
mean, I think the most important thing actually would not even be for credit during the school year, because it makes it feel like a class. It's not a class. It's like it's a job. But I would aim at like right after you graduate. Like, unless you're trying to get people to drop out, which you probably aren't.
Nope.
Right after you graduate.
Not trying.
Yeah. We got Kyle to drop out when we started.
One of our co-founders.
One of our co-founders dropped out of MIT. We convinced them to drop out and come work with us. But right when you graduate, like, having literally some way you actually have money that you can use to like work, knowing during senior year it didn't happen until sort of more towards the end of it. But like knowing that as we were graduating, we had $12,000 to go that we could use to go start our company with, prevented me from going and getting a backup job and actually signing up for it. Like I kind of had an offer from Microsoft, but I didn't accept it.
Yale students have a ton of opportunities.
Exactly.
To show them it's a normal path and also to take some risk out of it.
Maybe. And you can de-risk it a lot with
just
a
with
little bit of
bit
money.
Yeah, okay.
I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what? Let me ask you this: what should we be teaching otherwise in entrepreneurship? So we have obviously practical, let's say, skills for building consumer web apps.
Right.
That's kind of more of a technical skill. On the entrepreneurship side, you spoke about when you were addressing the audience at ITS conference about lean startup and human-centered design.
So I mean, I feel like it's easy to oversell that stuff. I mean, so YC has a saying: there's only two things you should be doing during YC, which and this can be generalized to when you're starting a startup: build stuff and talk to users. Talk to users can include sales if your product is something that's sold through sales. That's it. You shouldn't do anything else. And like there's a bunch of like sort of lean startup but like that stuff all falls out of intelligently.
So entrepreneurial finance.
You don't need. The thing is, like, those things are like helpful but not necessary. The only necessary thing is that you can figure out how to produce a product and like iterate on it, and then you can get feedback on it. And if you do those two things, you can be successful. But you can be the best at communications and PR, raising money, like user testing or whatever. But all of those things are just amplifiers for the actually having something that works. And so like I think that the thing is, once someone has a startup that's like kind of nascent and maybe it's growing, they can figure those other things out.
But we figured out startup finance. I mean, it wasn't like we made a couple mistakes along the way, but like the Yale education is strong enough that like it really is true. Like that stuff's all just like it's all details that like if you understand the basic like math and theory, you can go learn the finance stuff yourself if you need to. It's not like out of reach.
So the things that people need to know are the technical skills, and they need to know how to talk to users, discover user needs, and build products that satisfy those needs.
Exactly.
That's it.
And those are the most important things.
Yes.
And they need to know that they can get started.
Right. So they need normalcy, right? So that working on a startup, when you come out of Yale, it's a normal thing. It's respected. It's cherished. So
that's a good well-worn path you can walk down, and you're not like you don't have this. Everyone likes to think they want to be a like explorer in the wilderness, but people don't really want to be explorers in the wilderness because like it's scary. There's like wolves, like you don't know what's going to happen, right? You might run out of food. Like you want to be going down a path that like maybe not like the most well-trodden path, but like something that like at least two other people you know of have done.
Right.
That like makes law school. I feel like my wife went to law school right after Yale, and I feel like she went partially because she like wanted to get a skill to like. Because she wanted to like be a lawyer, but also because like a lot of her friends were applying to law school, and like it was easy to take the LSATs with them. And if you see your friends starting companies in college, well, A, you're going to join them as part of their founding team, or B, you're going to go, also do that because it becomes socially normalized.
What do you think we need to get more Yale's applying to Yale Combinator or Y Combinator?
Yale Combinator. You should start Yale Combinator. That's actually hilarious.
Do you have many now as a kind of a fractional basis? Are they under or overrepresented?
I would say it's underrepresented compared to other Ivy League or like MIT and Stanford. I think that one of the things YC does is we do like a college tour. So maybe this is a great destination for us to come.
Yes,
I mean, it really is.
Would you come?
Yeah, we should. We should definitely do that next year. I think that generally people will apply to Y Combinator if they're interested in starting startups. So like this is more of like a symptom and not necessarily the goal, right? So I mean, really, you just need to encourage people to like start startups and get together, like you said, have social interactions around
one
startups.
Thing that YC did for us when we were first getting started, that I thought was really important, was they gave us $15,000, $12,000, which is like not very much money for starting a company, but like they just sort of gave, like it covered our first summer. It got us to the point where like when we graduated, we had money in a bank account that could be spent to like grow our startup, and having access to even that tiny amount of capital, like really, really small. Basically, it was based on what would it cost for 2 undergrads to live in Cambridge for a summer. It was like that was like the costing.
It was the bare minimum.
It was it was the bare minimum.
Exactly.
We ran out of the money at the end of the summer.
And like, but like, that was this amazing like running start, because there's this world of difference in a startup between I want to do this, but like I don't have any money, I have to live with my parents because I literally can't make rent the first month, and like the mental state of I'm doing a startup, I have literally like $12,000, which for a college student is going to feel like a lot of money, and I can like make rent and buy food, and just work on my startup, and this is my job. I'm like taking a paycheck. This is my job, at least for 3 months, and like before it ran out, we like managed to raise more money, and like this. It's like it becomes a self-sustaining chain reaction of like, okay, you raise more money, you go a little farther, you get a little bigger, you raise more money, and then eventually maybe this startup fails, but okay, now you've gone through this whole money-raising process, you've like learned about it, it's not as scary anymore, and so the second startup was way easier for us to like do. Like jumping into Justin TV, once we'd done one startup already, was like
not scary.
Not scary at all. It's like, well, okay, now we're pros at this. We know what we're doing.
Pros, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I sincerely appreciate you guys taking the time to speak with me about this, and sincerely appreciate having you back on campus to normalize entrepreneurship for the rest of the Yale community. I think you're wonderful examples, and
great.
I think it's fabulous your success with your various startups, particularly Twitch.
Thanks so much for having us, Kyle.